Welcome to another episode of the Halas Huddle podcast. Here are your hosts, Rob Schwartz and Justin Onayemi, two Bears fans who decided talking into a microphone was better than shouting at their television.
Welcome in to episode 39 of the Halas Huddle.
Huddle up!
I was a little off on that one.
I think I might have been off, so I don't know. We effed that one up. That's okay.
That's no notes. No notes.
Episode 39.
Episode 39.
Old school Eddie Jackson was the first thought I had, but you came up with an even better one.
Curtis Enis.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know why that stuck out to
That's
me.
cool. But he changed numbers, we think.
Yeah. But what's just weird is that I didn't even pick up on Eddie Jackson as 39 because I think him as 4 now.
Interesting.
Like, that's how quick that
Has
number
that been 2 seasons he's been 4?
Yes. But
and every once in a while, Blackwell would make a play wearing 39, and I'd freak out and be like, wait, well, why was Eddie Jackson over there? But then I'm like, oh, that's not him anymore. So
he cloned himself. That'd be pretty awesome.
Well, I just forgot that, I don't know, you just get used to seeing a guy in a certain number. So,
yeah. Well, episode 39, Halas Huddle. I'm Rob Schwartz. As always, my good buddy and co-host, Justin Onayemi.
Yep, great to be here. I think we have a pretty good episode here. Probably going to be a quick one, we hope.
Yeah. We're just going to quickly review.
That's right. So what we're doing, we're looking at the positional rankings in the NFC North. And our last episode, actually, I don't think that was our last episode.
No,
because
last
we did
episode was the mock draft.
So episode 37, we did the offensive side of the ball. However, I gave my rankings, Rob gave his, but we did not come to a consensus, and we now have that. So we'll start by kind of reviewing those and show you our consensus, and then we're going to go to the defensive side of the ball as well, which I actually had more trouble doing. We'll talk about that when we get to it.
But with the defensive side, we got a little ahead of ourselves, and we do have a consensus for this episode. So real quick before we jump in, if you are not a subscriber right now, hit the subscribe button. We are 9 subscribers away from doing our drawing. So whoever's in there, once we hit that number, as soon as I have time, it could be 24 to 48 hours, I'm going to do the raffle. And then on the next podcast that we go on after we hit that mark, we will announce the winner.
Of an obvious shirt. Any shirt you want, you design it kind of or pick it.
Yep.
And we'll buy it and send it to you.
Yeah. So hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. Let's get to it.
All right, let's get to it. So last episode, as we talked about just now, we did positional rankings NFC North. And so we started with tight ends because we didn't want to go O-line. We wanted something sexier than that.
Yeah, who doesn't like a tight end?
Hey, explicit. All right. So as a review of each of our rankings, as well as the consensus, here's what we had. For tight ends, I had ranked Vikings number 1, Bears 2, Lions 3, Packers 4. We were in agreement on the end of it with the Lions and the Packers bringing up the rear. We had flip-flopped on the Bears and Vikings.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the consensus came down to who's the best tight end in the division.
Cole Kmet.
Hawkinson.
Come on, Kmet.
And so we edged the Vikings just ever so slightly. But hey, by the end of this season, I'd love to see those flip to what you had. Plus, you made a good point, which was the depth of the position with Runyon. Although, did I hear never mind. I must have had a dream or something that he got hurt.
I've not heard
Nobody should be getting hurt right now.
I've not heard anything about Robert Tonyan, so please.
Okay.
I hope that
might have been a nightmare.
Maybe.
All right, so that was our tight ends. Next, we did running backs, which is very interesting with Montgomery switching teams. And I actually got into it with my son a little bit about my rankings because he feels Lions are above the Bears, just like you did.
Yeah.
And we did go with the Packers at number 1 because the 1-2 punch is just a bit stronger.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I feel like A.J. Dillon could easily be a 3-down back should Aaron Jones go down.
And I felt like Dalvin Cook is the best running back in the division. However, usage, he tends to get hurt every once in a while. And I just don't know what the Packers are doing with Aaron Jones because I feel like he's better than what he has been the last 2 years.
They have not used him efficiently. I'm hopefully
they continue
not to.
Exactly.
And it's not just an Aaron Rodgers thing. And once Aaron Rodgers leaves, they realize, okay, this is how we run a football.
Well, I don't know if any NFC North running backs outside of Chicago are going to do anything against the linebackers we have, but we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that.
All right. Next up is offensive line.
Now, these are big sexies.
The only thing we were in agreement on was that I was going to say that the Bears are the worst, but we also agreed that the Lions have the best. And I don't know why we edged the Vikings. Do you recall?
I don't know. I'm not really sure. I mean, I know
it was
my rankings. I liked, I think Bakhtiari's a little bit older.
He's getting up there. You're right.
How long is he going to be here? And I know it's rankings for just this year, but he
hasn't
hasn't played a full season.
So these rankings are like right now, but also headed into the next season. So I think that's kind of the edge goes to the Vikings slightly.
Well, yeah, because once Chicago gets a guy like Broderick Jones or Paris Johnson, that might sway our opinion.
Absolutely. And our final one on offense was wide receiver. Not much to talk about consensus-wise because we had the exact same rankings. However, it'd be great to see the Bears start to move towards that number one.
We're going to see it, I think, after this year. I think part of it is people are unsure of what Justin Fields is going to do in the passing game. Because once you see it actually happen, if he's going to be throwing the ball for 200 to 225, 250 a game, I'm not going to say over 300 because I don't care about that when he's going to be rushing for still 50 to 60, 70 yards a game. Right?
That number keeps going up, Rob. I'm okay with 30 if they're winning.
Yeah, exactly. And 250 plus an extra 30, if you look at his total purpose yards, that's perfectly.
Love it.
That's awesome. So if we start seeing it on tape, seeing it on film, boom, they're going to jump up.
So maybe mid-season we review this. That could be something.
Or what if they draft Jackson Smith-Njigba? So they're going to get Broderick Jones or Paris Johnson and JSN. Don't ask me how, but it's going to happen.
Marvin Harrison Jr. the following year.
That's right.
All right. So these could look really, really nice if Justin Fields and PJ Walker, but we hope we don't see much of him, prove to be the best tandem in the division.
Yeah. I am ready to see Justin Fields take the step that I know he's going to take. And I say I'm using the word no because that's how confident I am in it. Because I saw it in film. Like, I saw it on the film. You saw me. I mean, we went through my gradings. Like, the progression, unless he regresses somehow.
Consistency in the system.
Yeah.
Better weapons. Better protection.
You keep saying that. Not enough people keep talking about the fact that he's in his second year of the same system.
Right. And it's been a long time for him where he could say that.
Yeah.
So let's hope the consensus we have there is right. We don't care who's after them. If they're number one, that'd be a real good sign for the Bears next year and for years to come.
And then one other nugget, and I got to give Justin credit this too, because I was not ballsy enough to say that Aaron Rodgers is gone. I think I said it was like 60. I said 50-50, and you talked me into 60-40.
When I was 80-20, so maybe I'm 75-25.
I don't know, because like we were talking.
He can't come back.
The way the Packers are talking, he's gone, right?
True.
Like,
that's true.
And I know they're being asked direct questions, but still.
So for the first time these are two of the oldest franchises in the NFL, and I don't know that that's ever been the case where the Bears were the best quarterbacks and the Packers the worst. So that would be lovely to see.
Yes.
So we're going to transition this episode, though, to talk about the defense. And Rob, I'm going to admit to you, and I don't know if you'll agree, but it was a lot tougher for me than offense. And part of that, I think, was, two of the teams are running 3-4, and guys that I'm thinking of as ends are actually linebackers. I didn't quite know how to do that. So it was a little tougher.
I had the same thought process. I was like, okay, wait, this guy's a 4-3 end, and now he's standing up as an off-ball linebacker. I couldn't, I guess he's more of an on-the-ball linebacker, but I couldn't get, my mind wrapped around, how are they going to project in that position? But then at the same time, I was just looked at talent. And when I'm seeing some of the other names that are out there, I put the talent above just because I think some of these guys can probably transition fine.
Yep. And that's another thing too, both with the Bears and with the other teams in the division, when you're bringing new players in as free agents, there's an excitement there, but you don't know how they're going to perform in your system. And you also don't know if the production they had in their other system carries over. So for me, thinking of a guy like DeMarcus Walker, who had a very nice season last year, he can't be the best guy on our line. You know what I mean? Like, and that scares me.
And is he truly going to stay at end, or is he going to move to 3-tech? Because he's done both.
True.
And he's performed, in my opinion, slightly better as the 3-tech than at the end. So,
spoiler alert, that question right there, and the fact that he's our big addition to a very bad line, I actually rank the Bears as the worst D line in the division. You didn't have a much better, I don't think, though.
My shocked face.
I didn't know what just happened. You shocked me. Thought I lost you.
That's my shocked face. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they're at the bottom of mine too. So we'll see. Maybe close to the bottom.
Maybe you don't remember.
No, they're close to the bottom.
Yeah, they're close. All right.
So again, I looked at the best players at the position, and Aiden Hutchinson, in my opinion, is the best player on the defensive line, whether you're end or tackle. And then Kenny Clark. I almost said Frank Clark. Kenny Clark out of Green Bay was my other top player. And that top player, I mean, obviously that's the reason why they ended up being 1 and 2 for me. Green Bay has a little bit better depth as far as like their second and third type guys, but Aiden Hutchinson is just that much better.
So let me just explain why I put the Bears dead last. And I guess we edged them out towards third. We'll have to talk about why we did. But if the starting D-line includes Dominique Robinson, he's too raw still. He's got to be a specialist, but they don't have better right now. We talked about DeMarcus Walker. Is he going to have the production he had? Is he an end? Is he inside? Hopefully you have a better 3-tech than him and he can play end. I like the signing of Billings, but again, you're just hoping that he's going to produce what he produced in Tennessee and was that run stopper. But who's to say when he doesn't have on his right or left anybody with much proven ability? I like Justin Jones, but he can't be the best guy in your line. So all of that being said, I had Bears last. We know it's a position they're going to need to still address in the draft and even in trades there's a lot they can still do. But as of right now, I have them dead last.
Yeah. So right now I have it as Trevis Gibson as the left end, Dominique Robinson on the right end, DeMarcus Walker is my 3-tech, Andrew Billings is my 1-tech. But it could be Justin Jones staying at that 3-tech spot, and then DeMarcus Walker is fighting, Dominique Robinson and Trevis Gibson for starting time. And then again, that's not counting the draft, which could completely throw this off. But I did hear an interesting thing. I kind of viewed it a little bit differently, but Lance Zierlein of NFL.com ranked like the positions for the draft, and interior defensive lineman was a little bit lower for him than it is in my opinion. So, I mean, maybe I'm missing something.
Okay. Now, Trevis Gibson's an interesting player because, we've seen flashes from him and got excited about him, I would say. But, and trust me, I'm not looking back and saying these were bad trades, but when you get rid of Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn, all of a sudden Trevis Gibson didn't seem like he was able to produce much. And so being across from guys that were consistently getting double teamed might have been why we saw those flashes.
But I also think it goes back to what you and I discussed just a little bit ago. Guys going from 3-4 to 4-3. That's what he did. He had 7 sacks as an outside linebacker. He had 3 as a
hand on the ground end.
Yeah. So
okay. Vikings, I think of Daniel Hunter as a pretty good end, and I didn't know if he counted as D-line or if he's outside linebacker. So I kind of ranked Vikings a little low as well.
Yeah.
I think our Chicago pride was the reason we edged out the Bears to.
So here's something too that I think maybe shows why I have the Vikings last. When I was going through this, I had Daniel Hunter as an outside linebacker, was Zadarius Smith if he's still there, and Marcus Davenport as the other outside linebacker. Not to jump ahead here. Where I'm looking at just the defensive line from Minnesota, I had Dean Lowry as their starter, Harrison Phillips, and then Kyrus Tonga is their is their nose tackle, and Jonathan Bullard's his backup.
All these Bears that.
When I looked at that, I was like, nah, I gotta put the Bears slightly ahead.
Okay.
Plus, everyone knows I like this Andrew Billings signing. So.
Yeah, true. And I guess it is the excitement of what still can be for the Bears. And we know more about that than we probably do about the way the Vikings might be thinking their line can still improve. So that's why we edge the Bears out slightly in our consensus. But clearly, Detroit and Green Bay are the top cream of the crop in the division.
Yeah.
All right. Next was linebackers.
Dun dun dun. Do I give it away, or you want to? Okay. You want to talk about it like a little bit?
Okay. Well, then put just us up there.
Hit the wrong one. Sorry, guys. Getting used to this producing aspect here.
Hopefully, you like our graphics though, so we're letting you see those. So yeah, linebackers. Like I said, it was kind of tough because some of these guys I looked at more as if they were D-line.
It might give my positioning away here, but let me just run off my best again real quick. So the best linebackers that I have in this group, Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary, Zadarius Smith. Which tells you something because none of those names are Detroit Lions.
I would want. I'm like the guy that's a little tentative to give the Bears the edge that you seem to want to give them. I like the Tremaine Edmonds signing. I like the Edwards signing as well. But you're new. They're new to a system, and so I have the Packers with a more established, slightly ranked higher than them. I have Packers, Bears, Vikings, and Detroit last. Looking at Detroit's linebackers, I wasn't very impressed.
Yeah, so I have Chicago number 1. Got my bear goggles on. I'm drinking that Kool-Aid. A combination of Tremaine Edmonds and
TJ
Edwards is like, it's like you have 2 number 1s on your team basically at that position. Kind of reminds me when Levante David and I'm blanking on the other linebacker that was down in Tampa. Mm-hmm. Like, just have 2 guys that are that dominant. I don't see that when I look at the other linebackers.
And, I mean, Sanborn is your 3rd, and we like what we saw out of him.
Yeah, easily.
I still think they need some depth, and even that kind of, made me question if they could be that number 1. But if you look at who's going to be out there most of the time, that's a strong 1-2 punch with a nice 3rd to rotate in.
Yes. So when I looked at Detroit, none of these guys' names mean anything to me. They're okay. They're just
Anzalone is a playmaker.
Yeah, but you're also a middle linebacker. So like when you see a middle linebacker like racking up tackles, that's pretty common no matter what team you're on, right? I mean, the guys that set themselves apart are the guys that hit that like 100 club. Right. And then
and coverage. Coverage is very important at the linebacker position, and that's something Tremaine Edmonds does very, very well.
And TJ Edwards.
You're right.
Yeah. But I think, like you had mentioned, we said it enough, so I'll just quickly gloss over it again. Is like the fact that we're seeing Marcus Davenport and Daniel Hunter standing up as linebackers. Like, I put that they're very good on the ground. I could easily flip Green Bay and Minnesota. They're like 1-1, like to me. So like I could easily put Green Bay ahead, and clearly that also led with you having them first to our consensus as number 2.
Well, and it's very funny to me that it seems like with the Packers and Vikings, we consistently are saying that about them, that they could be flipped one way or the other. And if you think about it, those are the more established dominant teams in the division, but there is the changing of the guard happening. Yes. I mean, Detroit is going to, right now, I don't know what Vegas, or the books have it, but I would say Detroit's probably the favorite to win the division. And the Bears could be a sneaky pick as well.
They could be.
So, all right. Finally, going to the defensive backfield. This is a place where I actually do have some pride in the Bears and some high hopes. I really like the Bears' defensive backfield. I know we still could use one more corner. I think that will be addressed. And we both have talked on this show, and we gotta point out when we maybe had strong takes that didn't appear on the field. Kendall Vildor played better than we expected, I would say, last season. And so if he is your third corner, maybe you're going to be okay with that. But I also feel they still will upgrade. So I actually had the Bears as the number 1 defensive backfield. I just love their safeties with Eddie Jackson and Brisker. And Jaylon Johnson, I mean, he's a corner that teams don't even want to challenge very often, it seems like. Now, obviously, Green Bay has their own version of that, more proven in Alexander.
So I, again, looked at players from, like, who's the best in the division standpoint before I looked at them as a team. This is not in any order, but Jaquan Brisker and Jalen Johnson, obviously, as corners, safety and corner here in Chicago. And then I also had Eddie Jackson as a maybe. I'm sorry, Eddie Jackson I did have on here. But as we were talking, and I wasn't really thinking of it, I am a little nervous just because of the foot injury. Like, it was a Les Frank injury, I believe. And some guys just don't come back from that. And he's a little bit older now. True. So that made me a little bit nervous. I put my maybe, and I read it wrong in my notes, for Okudah. Like, as a guy, like, Jeff Okudah took a step up last year, but I thought he was going to be a shutdown corner as soon as he came in. And his rookie year and his sophomore year were like, his rookie year was actually really bad.
Detroit made a big signing in the offseason with getting Gardner Johnson at safety.
And I have him on here as well. And then I have Harrison Smith still. Guy's just father time over there. Rasul Douglas had a really good year for the Packers last year, but I marked him as a maybe because it was kind of like he's an up and down type of player. But the best guy, in my opinion, in the whole defensive backfield, no matter where in the NFC North, is Jair Alexander. So
even though you bashed him on a prior episode.
Yeah, because he's a Packer. I still think he's really good. He's a little bit overrated, but he's also a ball hawk.
So Packers, I think, big subtraction by losing Adrian Amos.
Yes.
When he was with the Bears, I felt he was underappreciated, even by myself. His game really stepped up when he went to the Packers, and I think that's going to be a loss for them. So I did have Bears number 1, Packers number 2, followed by Detroit and the Vikings. I think you and I were pretty close there, and you convinced me to give the slight edge to the Packers in our consensus just because of the best guy in the division is on the Packers.
Yeah.
In a year or two, maybe we'll say Jaylon Johnson.
Maybe it'll be Jaquan Brisker. Hell, maybe it'll be Kyler Gordon because that guy was hot flash, missed like up, down,
True.
up, down.
And if he can lock in either in the nickel or outside.
Yeah. I mean, he was a ball hawk coming out of college. So.
All right. Now, none of this we said in our pre-game episode, our pre-episode talk. We were saying wins and losses don't come down to how you rank these individual units, and not all units are equal. For instance,
correct.
If Fields ends up being the best quarterback in the division, that's how you win games.
Yes.
I mean, we saw his flashes, but there just wasn't anything else happening. 30 points and you're giving up just slightly over that, you're going to lose. So I do think the fact that the Bears have upgraded at linebacker should help a lot.
Yes.
In maybe negating some of the strengths of the other teams.
I mean, that 4 to 5 week span when they were scoring 29, 30 points a week, the defense was averaging over 32.
Yeah.
So it's like the give and the take.
They were the worst rush defense in the league, I believe.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Billings signing should help that.
Yeah.
Linebackers should help that.
Exactly.
Then you look at the fact that those 2 linebackers are known for their coverage skills. Maybe you can negate a Hawkinson. So
Cole Kmet, it's your season. But the Bears, number 1 tight ends, number 1 quarterback, number 1 receiver. Can we see it happen?
O-line still needs to come up. O-line still needs to come up. But we're excited here. So that was kind of our rankings in the NFC North. In the comments, let us know what you think. This is something where I'm sure people could have the exact opposite rankings and make a case for it.
Yes.
And I'd love to see maybe mid-season review this again and see what has changed.
It's on record, guys. We can't change it now.
That's right. Even with those graphics and everything. Woo,
yeah.
It's locked in.
The only thing, I am going to try to continue to get contacts from the other teams just to try to see if we can get them on. But I don't know with scheduling. Everyone's working on the draft. If we're going to be able to get that done before the draft, which means if we do those conversations, our rankings might change slightly as well.
I think after the draft, there's going to be a good amount of time between the draft and the actual season to have those conversations, and then you're looking at a full roster or closer to a full roster.
Yeah, so we might have to address these after the draft before we even get to midseason.
True. Very true. So, all right.
Good.
What else do we have coming up, Rob?
Another
mock. Look for our second mock draft coming
next week. Mock draft 2.0.
Mock draft Monday.
We are going to, which by the way, mock draft Monday might mean we draft on Monday and it comes out on Tuesday.
On Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So don't think that it's always going to publish on Monday, but the mock will be Monday. And we're going with a new strategy, right? The whole thing is looking at 4 separate strategies. The first one we looked at.
Neither of us were too fond of.
It ended up not working out in our favor.
Didn't think so.
But we ended up going offensive tackle. So if you want to check that one out, it's out there if you haven't watched it. Otherwise, I think that's it for this episode.
Yeah. Tried to keep it short.
Yeah. So hit the subscribe. Wait, hold on. Hit the subscribe button. Left them hanging. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Leave comments.
You don't know that reference?
What?
Look it up. Phil Jackson tries to like fist bump Kobe, but he totally like disses him, and then he just starts rubbing his face like, "Oh, I was just rubbing my face."
I have not seen that. I'm gonna look it up right now.
Look it up now. All right, bear down.